RealGM Radio is on YouTube. Before we jump in, do me a favor and subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel to catch the podcast when we record live. Tune into the best segments and join the RealGM Radio community. Find us on youtube.com/@RealGM Radio. Talking Thunder Pacers Game 5 with Dave DuFour today. Feels like the Thunder have taken control of this series, but we'll see if Dave agrees and if there's anything the Pacers can do to push it to 7. So we're going to talk finals, then we're going to get into some offseason topics, including the fallout from the Desmond Bane trade, Kevin Durant, and I put together a list of some under-the-radar trades that I'd like to see. Let's jump in. All right, it's RealGM Radio. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Dave DuFour. He's the host of the Athletic NBA Daily Podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. A joy of a listen and an enjoy of a guest, one of our favorites here. Dave, thanks so much for jumping on in the middle of the finals. A bunch of stuff that we can get into. The Jalen Williams game, Tyrese Halliburton's injury, but I just want to get to my biggest takeaway right from the jump here. After the series was 2-2, it feels like the Thunder just put together their best 2 games of the series, and they have started to look like the dominant team that they were for most of the regular season in these last 2 games. It feels like the Thunder have figured out this series. What do you think?
Oh, I feel the same way. As soon as the Pacers drop Game 4, that was my thought. Okay, Thunder figured this out. They understand how to shut the water off, and then you see in Game 5. I mean, Halliburton obviously dealing with an injury, but he didn't make a single shot. Like that's an adjustment. But the biggest one was end of Game 4. We finally got to see the Thunder use Shea and Jalen Williams together. Mm-hmm. And they just do not do that a lot, period, much less in this series. And so they turn up the juice there. I think they were involved in 7 pick and rolls together in the fourth quarter of Game 4. And then we saw a continuation of that in Game 5 where J-Dub guy looks like a star. S has started calling him Scottie Pippen with a jump shot, and I need him to pump the brakes because Scotty's my guy. But I mean, there's something to that. You know, the guy's being an all NBA defender and to be able to score like that. And I mean, a 40-point finals game, man, that's something. Mm-hmm. That's not a fluke. So I just think, like you said, I mean, they figured something out. The series is over because the Thunder, there's just no way they're going to lose 2 in a row. And
especially
I mean,
with Halliburton.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm assuming this is going to publish before Game 6. Yep. I expect it to be over in Game 6. Especially with the Halliburton thing. Pascal Siakam has been amazing in this series, but there's not been another guy that's been able to step up from game to game. You know, the matter of fact, Nesmith, Nembhard, and Turner have given them very little, and that I think when they're doing their autopsy of the finals over the summer, I think that's going to be a thing that's glaring to them is that the guys that they needed to just, they need 12 points a game, just weren't able to produce at all.
Yeah, it's funny the way that the Pacers, I love this Pacers team. Everybody does. I know you do too. It's funny in the way that they're built though, because Tyrese Halliburton isn't this 25-point per game scorer.
Right.
He does want to get guys involved, but that makes it so that your role players have to make shots. And for so much of the playoffs, they were the best shot-making team in the league. And then they run into this OKC defense. In the first couple games, they're still making shots, right? And all these things. They had the great Game 3 and all that stuff. Game 4, Game 5, OKC's defense just turns the faucet off. And Nembhard, Nesmith, I can't even, like, off the top of your head, can you think of a Nembhard jump shot that he made after the first in these last 2 games? I can't even. I know he made one, but I can't think of anything.
No.
Turner just hasn't been able to get that 3-ball going.
Right.
And so those guys are even more important than usual in so many ways because Halliburton is spoon feeding all of them, but they still got to eat. They still got to do the thing. And if they're not converting, then it's tough. Obviously, it's easy to poke holes in it, but with this, to me, this Thunder defense in the fourth quarter of Game 4, I think remembered what it is that they are capable of doing. Because in the playoffs, and I kept talking about this, like they go on these runs that are fueled by defense. They don't have runs like other teams. Other teams are fuel their runs by 3-point variance, right? Oh my God, we made 3 out of 4. Isn't that cool? We just made a huge run in the fourth quarter to break the game open. Oklahoma City just decides to lean forward in the gamer chair and turn it on. Yeah. And when they decide the full court press or pressure you at half court or whatever it's going to be defensively, It's done. I mean, they
All of a
basically
sudden,
just
you got
power the
Alex
runs.
Caruso diving on the floor and
Lou Dort
triggering
poking
a
the
fast
ball
break.
away. Right, exactly. And so they're not worried about the 3-point shooting. They just grab the ball and go, and then they're scoring in transition with dunks and layups.
And that's the difference, right? Like
Yep.
To start game 5, it was very similar to game 1, where they were generating turnovers, but they weren't getting points. And the big change in game 5 was that they started to generate points. I think they had 32 points off turnovers.
They had 32 points off of turnovers. I'm glad you brought this up. So I tracked it. 32 points off of turnovers to Indiana's 9 in this last one. So that's a plus 23 points off turnover margin. In game 4, they had 25 points off of turnovers, which was the most they had up until that point of the series, until game 5. But Indiana still had 23. So
the Pacers have done a
2.
good job of deading the ball, like after turnovers, whether it's the ball's going out of bounds or they're just, they're triggering a foul or something. They're like really disciplined at getting back, period.
Mm-hmm.
They're not crashing the glass on the offensive end unless it's Siakam on a cut or Miles Turner on a cut. And so they're a little bit now old school, right? Like they're the team that's fully getting back in transition.
Yeah.
With everybody. So
and when they turn the ball over, they're not throwing their hands up and asking for a foul. They just say, all right, I don't have the ball anymore. Let me run back on defense.
Which was why honestly, Rick Carlisle's tech caught me off guard, because I was like, well, they didn't complain because it's so ingrained now, you're so accustomed to players looking for the call.
Right.
But Nembhard on that play, like he probably got fouled.
He got fouled,
but he's right back on defense. I mean,
that was a weird play for Carlisle.
Remember, that's what killed the Celtics for a couple years, right? You could run on them after plays because Jason Tatum would just throw his hands up and act like he was assassinated. Right. So it's Jokic back in the day too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd always complain about these calls. So they're just disciplined and they have gotten here. Yeah, they have talent but they also have craft and skill, and then they've got a great coaching staff. But they don't have the talent that the Oklahoma City Thunder have.
Right. The Pacers remind me of the 2023 Heat, but instead of being built around a bunch of overlooked undrafted guys, they're built around overlooked first-round picks.
It's like, this is what happens if you did that on purpose.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, instead of accidentally, yeah.
Right. And with an unselfish superstar and all those things, and just a tremendous coach in Rick Carlisle. And it feels like everybody, people like you and me who watch this stuff very closely, I don't even know if I thought Rick Carlisle was as good as this. Like, this is elite level, like,
well, he
most
looked
dominant
washed
coach
for
in
a
the
while,
league.
right?
There was a minute there.
Yeah, but also it's personnel. This is a team that I think that really fits the way that he wants to coach basketball. Like, he doesn't want to run plays. Like, Rick Carlisle has plays, obviously. But they're situational plays, which to me, that's the best basketball coaches, right? You don't have this thing where you have to come down and get into all right, hey, we're going to call a play every single possession. You come down and you make plays, right? Like, so he likes to coach playmakers. Go out there. Look, you understand our principles. You understand like what our goals are. Just go out there and exist within that ecosystem. Right. And this is a team it has 5 guys in the starting lineup that can put the ball on the floor a couple times, make a decision. And I think that's huge, right? Like, Aaron Nesmith and the way he's grown over the course of this season has been incredible. Like, you can trust that guy to drive now on a closeout, and I don't think you could last year. So, this is a team that's it's super young and is still evolving. And if a couple of guys have a better series, this is a 7-game series. And I mean, honestly, you get a couple of decent Miles Turner games, and this series literally could already be over and the Pacers could have won. Game 4, I think, is going to loom large over these guys for the rest of their careers until, if they win a title or whatever.
Right. That's the big what if, right? Because
that was 10
in the third quarter, still up at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But again, this Thunder team just deserves so much credit. And it's like,
agreed.
I don't want to do put the bow on the finals thing yet, because there's still maybe a maximum of 2 games. But no matter what happens, this Pacers team has played so much. I know even a lot of people, even if they lose in 6, so many people pick the Thunder in 6. I had the Thunder in 5, with all due respect to this Pacers team. And yet I still think you come away, even if you were somebody who picked the Thunder in 6, I still think you come away from this finals at, like, that Pacers team was better than I thought. Like, they gave it more of a fight no matter what, right? That's why you got to watch the games. So Eastern Conference Finals last year for the Pacers, NBA Finals this year, it was tied 2-2. This team is good enough to win a championship. Yeah. And they showed that this year. So you're going to come away with this feeling pretty good about the Pacers, even if they lose. But to go back to the Thunder thing, they are just so dominant. And the fact that they were able to find themselves, I thought they were tested in a big way, right? Because I don't think even, again, if you had Thunder in 6, you probably didn't think it was going to be 2-2. You probably thought it'd be like 2-0. Pacers get one at home. Maybe Pacers get this next one at home in game 5. And then they go to game 6 in Oklahoma City and the Thunder tie it up, or wrap it up. But this felt like an evolution for the Thunder in a lot of ways, where they were under the stress test. And to me, I want to go back to Jalen Williams, because what he did with those 40 points and the variety with which he's scoring, it's not just, hey, he got hot as a jump shooter. His first few scores in that game, dunk, layup, dunk, dunk, layup. And then he kind of found his rhythm, and he's like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to pull up into this long two. You know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to pull up into this three-pointer. And all of a sudden, it just starts to steamroll, and he's getting downhill. They're setting those high screens with Hartenstein. He's like, cool, I'm going to go right to the rim. It's a level of aggression, and I don't know, where are you now at Jalen Williams? Because we all, SGA, MVP. How good is Jalen Williams?
Might be top. I mean, I think he's top 15. Like, this is an all-NBA level guy, I think, next season. And you're right. Like, we're watching him evolve quite a bit. This time last year, we were talking about how he wasn't able to step up. And we've said that at times in this playoff, right? Like, where he wasn't shooting the ball well. And what I like about what he's done, especially the last 3 games of this series, he's not waiting for the shot to fall. He's trying to put the ball in the basket, right? It's a whole different thing.
Right.
He's just trying to do whatever he can to get the ball in the basket. And then he got hot. He hits that one, like he's driving and he stops just with 2 feet in the paint, right at the free throw line, hits that spinning fadeaway, right?
Right.
That's a tough shot that I didn't realize he had. But that's when you knew, okay, this guy was feeling really good about his jumper. And the quick decision making, even on the threes, when he's open, he takes them. 0.5. And you mentioned just coming off the screen and roll. I mean, this guy going downhill. I called him like their defensive middle linebacker on the show today. But on offense, he kind of plays the same way with like, if you think about it, like a blitzing middle linebacker, the way they kind of dive the gap.
Yeah,
that's the way
he's a one-cut running back.
That's the way he drives to the basket. Yep. He had a great dunk where he had to kind of adjust in the air, like 2-hand dunk. The guy's, he's a great athlete. He's built, for this, perfectly. Like he was designed in a lab to play basketball. So I'm not surprised, especially because we've seen flashes of this. I thought that was his best game of his career that I've seen, right? Like I have never seen Jalen Williams look like the best player on the court for 48 minutes like that, especially playing with Shea. And I thought he was. And Shea was amazing, by the way. Like, especially what he was doing defensively. He was just like, oh, I'll turn it up a little bit.
I called it a quiet 30.
Yeah.
Quiet 30 and 10 or 31 and 10 or whatever he finished with.
Yeah. And then had a couple of blocks and some key steals.
Huge steals in the fourth quarter. Halfway through the fourth quarter, Indiana gets it to, I think it was 7, and he just pokes the ball. He gets 2 straight steals, doesn't poke the ball away, 2 pick sixes on 2 straight possessions, leads to 2 scores, and suddenly the Thunder are up 13 again. You're just like, oh, I think they just put the game away with that.
There's going to be a lot of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen conversations about these two.
Oh, good. And I feel like we don't do that enough.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this is though, like, I get it.
Pretty close.
With this one, at least it can make some sense to me, right? Like if you're saying, hey, these guys are positionally, this is kind of how they work. It fits a little bit.
What are the closest Jordan Pippens prior to this?
I don't know. There's nothing that really
feels like
works.
It comes up a lot, but this is the one that actually fits with their roles. Like SGA does play a lot like Michael Jordan with the mid-range footwork, all that stuff. And then Jalen Williams, he is, what's really impressed with me, everybody keeps talking about like that, his new signature shot, the scoop layup off the glass, which is awesome. And I love it. Sure. It's very cool. It's a skill. For our one-cut running back, it is a skill move. And that's really cool to have that in his bag. He's an incredible cutter.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like he decimated Indiana's defense in the first quarter with those slot cuts. He had one backdoor cut. And it's just like, oh, he's doing it from all angles. His timing is awesome. And it does, again, going back to the Thunder and the theme of them sort of figuring it out, it felt like Jalen Williams was like, oh, I know exactly when that rotation is happening, and I know exactly when to hit this cut, and I'm going to do it right now. He wasn't doing this earlier in the series, and it just felt like everything was coming to him in real time.
Well, they're so hyper-focused on Shea.
Yeah.
And I think that
great call.
when you're playing with Shea, you have to be hyper focused, right, as well, and you can't be in his way. And now Shea figured out what they're doing defensively, right? And I think that there's like a downstream a benefit that everybody else gets off that. So Jalen Williams being able to now pick his spots where he's not getting into Shea's way, because there are times where Shea's been able in this series to cut through that defense like a hot knife through butter. Like he's been in the paint, he's lived in the paint, and so that's hard to cut off of because you don't want to cut into his driving lane. And J-Dub likes to come and crash the glass after layups anyway. So there is a little bit of, you've got this like staggered cut coming behind a drive, but there's a point in which you can't do that with the Pacers because you need bodies back. So it is this dance that they've played over the course of the series that I think that we're watching all the individual players learn more and more about what they're doing. But it at this point doesn't matter because it's the talent game. Like the talent wins out. This is where the NBA, the 7-game series, it becomes more predictable because over the course of time, more possessions, more games, the talent usually is gonna win out.
Yeah. With SGA too, he's really figuring out how to bend Indiana's defense. I'm so glad you called that out because even Jalen Williams, he had that big scoop layup that the broadcast went nuts over in the fourth quarter, and it was SGA getting 2 feet in the paint and making that little outlet pass to Jalen Williams, and then Jalen Williams went into his mode against a bent defense and then got to that scoop layup. I don't think that happens if not for SGA getting that initial penetration. And rewatching the game this morning, time after time, overreaction by the Pacers defense on Shai Gilgeous. And that's what happens over the course of a series is like, oh my God, this guy is averaging 1 million points per game against us. And you just start taking that little half step into the paint when he's driving. And Shai just downloaded it in real time and just started getting guys involved. And I'm talking about him like a play. Again, he scored 30 points, but he was dishing it at such a
his
degree.
Shot making has gotten to be absurd.
He had one where, you know how NBA.com tracks like the distance between your defender and your shot? Yeah. This would have been tracked if they got it down to the inch, 0 inches. It was just Nesmith all over him. It was like in the first quarter. Yeah. And he just turns around, right elbow, turns around. Nesmith's like in his face. These are people occupying the same space of time. And I'm like, what is he doing? Is he going to shoot this? This is great. Went in. Nothing but net. I'm like, how is this even possible?
The landing rules, I think, have helped guys who have a nice turnaround, right? Like, I mean, I imagine what would Dirk be doing right now if he didn't have to worry about somebody's foot under his ankle?
Yep.
I mean, Jokic, that's the real star shot. People talk about the mid-range. It's the turnaround mid-range. When you can hit that one every single time, Kawhi, those kind of guys, that's when a guy is at a different level. And Shai's just doing that casually. 5 times, 6 times a game. Yeah, it's just like, it's nothing. No big deal.
Who also has that?
Put Miles Turner on me. It doesn't matter.
Siakam has it.
Oh, yeah.
He's been phenomenal. If the Pacers
Siakam is the best player on the Pacers. I'm saying this everywhere I can. I've been saying this for since they traded for him. He's not the loudest guy, but he is their best player. That guy is amazing, actually. And what he's been doing defensively for them, the rim protection that he provides next to Miles Turner is boosting Miles Turner's production. It makes Miles look better.
I'm interested to see what happens here in Game 6. Assuming Halliburton plays, they used him they basically used him as a decoy when he came back when he was sort of hobbled, and I get it.
Took
McConnell
one
was
shot
sensational in the third quarter. Yeah. Do you have to start McConnell depending on how Halliburton, and do you go, or maybe not start, but do we see more lineups? I don't think Tony Bradley can play anymore. I'm dancing around.
This is not a Tony Bradley series. Yeah.
I don't think so. And do you go with Siakam at the 5 with McConnell, Halliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, and you just play really small but really fast and say, okay, we kind of have to have Halliburton out here, but we can't rely on him the same way anymore.
Feels like a trap. And maybe, it is maybe about, do you bench Halliburton, right? You can't, because you can't bench Nembhard because you need his defense. Obviously, Nesmith, it's just a different position. But with TJ, he's not a threat to shoot. So the geometry of the court changes. And if he's initiating the offense, well, the defense knows it can sit back and kind of dare him to shoot. That's not good offense for the Pacers. Does it take away his ability to get into the paint if Obi Toppin's not out there? You know, Obi Toppin actually creates a lot of vertical spacing for them, especially in transition. And TJ McConnell does a good job of keeping his head down and getting into the paint no matter what. It gets harder, you know, when you don't have those guys out there. Like if it's just Pascal at the 5, I think it is a little bit more difficult to pull off. I'm not sure. I think the TJ McConnell stuff can be a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Guy comes off a bench. This is an opportune moment for him to get a bunch of points. You know what I mean? And in this series, I think the more it drags on, the more it favors McConnell coming off the bench, where he can put up, you know, double digits. And you throw him into the starting lineup, and I just think it's a different thing, man. It's that I didn't think this was going to be a series where TJ McConnell could play, because the Oklahoma City Thunder is a blender where instead of blades, it's arms, you know, like, and he is not the biggest or longest guy, right? He's not the greatest athlete. Where usually you need that if you're a smaller player and you're playing against that much length, but he's been effective somehow. I don't understand it. I would be very nervous about relying on
spun around
that.
Jalen Williams in that game, and Jalen Williams is like, how is this happening?
Yeah,
and he
I
had
know.
a couple of shots where they're just like, how is this happening? He's
It's
a little bit like Russell Westbrook in that way,
right?
where it's just like, what's
the
going
only
on?
way.
Correct. Not in many ways.
Right. That's a comp. Yeah. I'm
Right.
going to tell everyone Wes Goldberg compared TJ McConnell to Russell Westbrook.
But you do, you
right.
run into the issues when you start them with the spacing and the issues there. You kind of want him as a spark plug. And if you catch lightning in a bottle off the bench every once in a while, great. And you ride it.
And if Halliburton's going to be effective, he's going to be effective early.
Right.
Right. And rather than late. But also you'll get a sense of whether or not he can go. Have you ever torn a calf or strained a calf? It's awful.
I'm not my calf. No, pretty sure I broke my ankle once.
Oh, okay. Different thing.
Yeah.
But a strained calf is awful. It takes a long time for you to feel like it's right, because you can tweak it just doing normal stuff. You know, I strained my calf a few years ago and not too bad. I was only on crutches a couple days, but I was walking around, no limp, no nothing for like 3 weeks. I was like, oh, I'm good. Went to a pool party, jumped into the pool, you know, not a lot of force, just like hopped in, restrained the calf. I mean, it just doesn't take very much. So like what you saw, I think they caught it on video where he strained, and it's like nothing special, nothing weird about it, just took off and it feels strange. So I think that, you know, if he's going to be able to go, you got to start him, because he'll be warmed up, he'll be loose, and that's got to play. I mean, I actually think that that's got to play into their strategy the whole night. So when he sits, maybe it's, you know, he sits a lot more of the second quarter than maybe he normally does. And you use him for like all of the first and a couple minutes at the end of the third. So you need TJ McConnell, because that guy coming off the bench, I mean, it's funny. I've been calling Obi Toppin their fastball off the bench, but the truth is it's TJ McConnell is like this knuckleball that you don't know what to expect. At least the Thunder defense don't. So I don't think you can start him. I was surprised to see him close in game 5, to be honest with you, over Nembhard, because, you know, Nembhard, he's not making shots, but his defense on Shea has actually been tremendous, which is hard to say when Shea's
and he could do some ball handling too. We remember at the end of game 1, they really leaned into the Nembhard Miles Turner pick and roll. And it feels like they haven't pushed that button.
He had some bad turnovers last night. I mean, every single Nembhard turnover felt like an exclamation point. And what was there, 4?
Right. All of his turnovers felt like the ones where the ball pops in the air.
Yep.
And it's just sort of a give and go for the defender. I don't know what they do. To your point, Halliburton, he's going to look his best at the beginning of the game. Maybe you ride that Indiana crowd a little bit, try to get up to an early lead, and then just hope that you can maintain that and just say, okay, Siakam, take us home. Because look,
I mean, they need
Pacers
40
from one game 5. We're talking about that as the Siakam game, because he was awesome in game 5.
Yeah, they're going to need 40 from Siakam, because I just don't trust anybody else to give him anything.
No, they're going to need 40 from him. A couple more made shots from Turner, Neesmith, Nembhard, and just hope that all those guys at home get hot. Game. Yep.
Can they get Reggie?
Which one? Reggie Miller?
Reggie Miller. Can he come out?
Hey, Caitlin Clark unfortunately probably won't be there because now she's playing again. They kind of needed her to stay injured for a little bit throughout the finals.
The luck ran out, right? Like they lost the game with her
That's
in
true.
attendance, so that's all over. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the Taylor Swift thing could work, but the Panthers lost when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce showed up to one of the Stanley Cup games
Yeah.
in Florida. So I think it
I
only
don't.
works for
We're
the
not a
Chiefs.
Taylor Swift league.
No.
Can we get Beyonce out here to Indy?
When was the last time you've seen Beyonce courtside? She used to be there all the time with Jay-Z, like 10 years ago.
The Nets, right?
Right, and that's it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't happen
Two
anymore.
owners ago.
Yeah, a few owners ago. Anything else on the finals that you want to talk about before we move on?
I mean, this has been an amazing finals, just
It
in
has.
general. I think probably one of my favorite. I think it's my favorite finals that since I've been doing this like 10 years to cover for sure. Like when you consider, I mean, we're lucky because we actually get to talk about the basketball. Like it didn't bother me that there were no big markets in the finals, right? Like I had people who I know and respect say, "Hey, you ready for this boring finals?" And I'm like, buddy, have you not been watching these guys play? This is two of the most exciting styles of basketball that exist in the league on both ends, by the way. Defensively, too, they're fun to watch. It's a really good coaching matchup. Two fun cities that are super into their teams. It's not like, and respectfully, Wes, it's not like this is the Miami Heat with empty seats to start the game, right? Like this is this feels more like the old like the Heatles, when LeBron was down there, when everyone was super into it. Like, but they're doing this in a small place. It's fun. And then I went to the first two games and got to actually feel what it was like in Oklahoma City. And I think it was louder last night than it was game
like
one,
TV,
which is nuts.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That's kind of my big takeaway from this finals is, don't judge a book by its cover. But if the cover is also good, which these two teams like going into it, I think we all should have known it was going to be a good series. Then everything, it kind of worked out in a very interesting way, I think, for the NBA, but in particular for me, because I didn't have to do this thing where it's like, okay, it's going to be over in 5. That's boring. Okay, who's a star? I mean, we've gotten new stars, I think, in this series, Jalen Williams especially. So I don't know, man. It's been a great pick before the series? Finals. I said Thunder in 6.
Okay.
Now my heart wanted to go Pacers in 7 because I fell in love with this Pacers team over the course of, the last 6 months. As soon as they got healthy this year, something clicked for them. I mean, they obviously made the conference finals last year, but it was a different team once they made that run. They changed in the playoffs last year. The way that they started applying ball pressure against the Knicks in their series last season changed my opinion of them because they were disgusting to watch when they weren't playing defense. They really were just let's Olay to the basket. If you miss, great. We're going to run. We think we can score more than you.
Wasn't there a game? It was them and who was it? It was like 142 to 140 or something.
Yes.
That was them versus
I hated it so much.
maybe?
It really insulted me.
Yeah.
And my basketball sensibilities.
That was a year and a half ago.
But, I'm also a little bit proud of myself because, I allowed myself to love the Pacers. They are a fun basketball team, and now they play defense. And so this is like a real team. I think they're going to be in the mix for the finals next season. Obviously, like Boston not being there is gonna help
to be
a lot
the
of
favorites
teams
next year.
But
in the East.
That's absolutely right. Like, what changes do they even need to make between now and next season? I can't think of any.
Maybe get a backup center. But that's about it, right? And I love this Pacers team. I enjoy watching them so much. And these finals, and I was thinking, like Game 5, to your point, it seemed louder on TV than Games 1 and 2. And I'm like, when was the last time I felt a crowd that loud, just off the TV or being in the arena or whatever? And the last thing I could think of was 2013 Game 7. I can't recall, or maybe 2016 Game 7. When the Cavs were coming back, maybe, but these finals have been so entertaining, way better than last year's finals, way better than the year before that. The 2022 finals were pretty good. I'm sorry, 2021, when the Bucks beat the Suns, but that was weird because Phoenix went up 2-0, and then Milwaukee just sort of came back, and the last game was awesome.
That was a much weirder finals than this one,
and it was still like a half. Was it empty or half empty arena?
Yeah.
It was one of those weird post-COVID things. 2020 was the bubble. That was weird. And then you're getting back to 2019. The Warriors got injured. You can keep going further back, and 2018, no Kyrie Irving, and all, and it was a sweep. This has been one of the most entertaining finals I can remember in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I know that everybody talks about the ratings and stuff. I think this is a really instructive thing for the league because the ratings actually show you how many real fans you have. These are real NBA fans who are going to watch these finals no matter who was in it. We didn't need a Boston or a New York or an LA team in it. These are your real fans. And I think now the NBA, what Adam Silver likes to talk about, like 1 billion impressions because I saw one TikTok of an NBA highlight. But these are your real fans. This is your fan base, and now you know. And by the way, I think, and they got a great show because this has been a great series.
This is the thing about the league. I've actually been telling people because you do radio hits and stuff, and they'll ask you about the ratings. Now, ratings don't affect us, which is great. The NBA encourages you not to follow one team, but to follow the whole league, follow individual players. Now, I happen to think it's a mistake for their business model, but I'm not a marketing guy, so I don't think about everything in that way. This finals rewarded NBA fans for doing the thing that the NBA has asked them to do, follow every single team. And so the story of the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't need to be told because NBA fans have been following them all year. I mean, Wes, I don't know about you, man, but the Thunder do numbers when I talk about them on my show.
Yep.
The Pacers do numbers when I talk about them on my show.
Same.
So people want to hear about these teams, and it's not just Indiana and it's not just Oklahoma City. So they've been compelling teams to people who follow the league. Tyrese Halliburton is a controversial player. The overrated thing, I know why that happened, right? It's because he gets so much attention, and you would think, oh, well, he would be a top 10 player, top 15 player. That's why they called him overrated. Had nothing to do with these guys actually disrespecting him on the court, which is the funny thing, because the context that was lost is we hear about Tyrese Halliburton all the time. He's not that good. That's what it was. It's like, is he good enough? I mean, you had people last season putting him in the MVP conversation for part of the year. It's like, pump the brakes, slow down. And he's a totally fine player, but he's not the best player on his own team even. So anyway, you were right. Like the ratings or whatever, but it is a good sense of, hey, NBA, did you do a good job of selling your league? Because this is the league that they're trying to sell. You should root or hate every team in the league, right? Depending on the matchup. You might root for the Knicks sometimes, even if you're a Celtics fan. I mean, the Celtics get eliminated by the Knicks. I was in New York. There were Celtics fans in a bar watching that game one between the Pacers and the Knicks. They're rooting for the Pacers, right? That's the league that the NBA wants to have. This is what you've got. And I think this was a great finals. This is a good showcase of what the league is about. If these teams can manage to put together these sorts of teams in Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, that's amazing for your league.
Right.
This won't happen in baseball.
Right. And no matter what you think, if you're a small market team now, you say, we just got 2 small markets in the NBA finals. We can do it too, unless you're Sacramento. And you're like, well, we got close.
Well, hey, listen, it's not for lack of trying to do stuff. And so this is where I always feel bad for the Kings, because it's not like they're not like resting on their laurels.
Right.
They double down on mistakes sometimes, I think this Sabonis
They're your
ceiling
friend at the craps table. You're like, at least he's not in the strip club.
Yeah. Yes, it's something like that, right? Like, I mean, bless their hearts. They've got a pretty good fan base. They try hard to make the fans happy. They just can't.
They have a great fan base. I think the Sacramento fans are awesome, and that's.
I think they need to look at what Indy did, and they need to try to trade for Tyrese Halliburton.
Poor guys. Let's talk trades. It's a good spot for a transition. Desmond Bane, your immediate thoughts when the trade happened on Sunday, and then there's been a lot of takes. It's a weird trade, a lot of layers to it. Have you changed your mind in the days since it went down?
That's interesting. So my initial reaction was, wow, Desmond Bane is available. Right? Now this tracks for me. I think everyone's available. Everyone. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are available. I think every player that isn't Jokic, Shea, Giannis, he's not available. I think that pretty much everyone's available. But Bane getting moved, to me, the Grizzlies are the more interesting side of this, not the Magic. The Magic overpaid, but that's now the price you have to pay if you don't want other teams to jump in. So, hey, wow, Desmond Bane is available? I had no idea.
Right.
Okay.
Before
Don't
the
tell
word gets
anyone.
out. Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. We're going to give you this stuff. And like KCP, that's great for them to get off that contract because he just didn't work there. He's just not the guy that they needed.
Yep. And I think one of these picks, Desmond Bane went for 3. One of these first is to get off the KCP contract.
Right. Yep. And that Phoenix 2026 pick is super interesting because I would assume that if you own that pick, you're going to be able to get in on the KD trade one way or the other. Because I would be offering Phoenix, hey, do you want your draft pick back next year? And then that gives them flexibility, right? Like the way we just saw Brooklyn kind of get worked a little bit into getting their picks back. So, I mean, look, it's really good business by Memphis because you get an offer like that for Desmond Bane, who was all on a big contract for Desmond Bane.
Yep.
And which for Orlando, that's pretty good money. But for Memphis, that's big money because they've got Ja and they've got Jaren that they have to think about. So I think you get a haul like that, and you probably have to say yes, just from an asset management standpoint.
It's a Godfather offer in the way that it's an offer you can't refuse. And I want to go back to the point that you made about everybody being available because that to me is the most important thing here. It's Kevin Durant right now. We know he's available. He's going to get traded.
Yeah.
Phoenix is trying to posture, but they can't remove the sign going out of business. Everything must go. I've
heard
in front of the
Rich
franchise.
Kleiman's name 10 times in the last week. KD is getting traded. The only time Rich Kleiman comes out of, hiding is to help KD get traded.
Right.
So it is
and
happening.
It's always boardroom CEO Rich Kleiman every time you see the write-up. And I'm like, nobody knows what boardroom is.
Business manager, business
Kevin Durant's
partner.
Business
buddy.
guy.
His buddy. I'd rather just say it as buddy. Yeah. Like, what if KD was just like, it wasn't someone who he did business with. He just called up, hey, buddy, can you just talk to the Suns for me? That's what it feels like. Yeah. I mean, it's literally what it is. I mean,
Dave, he's the boardroom. He's the boardroom CEO.
He's showing up to make deals. The art of the deal is to get KD to another team where he can get the coach fired.
Wasn't there a year where they announced, was it when he went to Brooklyn, they announced it via Instagram Live, and it was supposed to be like this big decision type thing, and
weren't they doing like a media launch?
Yeah. Maybe that's what boardroom is.
I guess. I don't know.
But the point being, Durant is not going to go for 4 first-round picks because Phoenix has lost all their leverage.
He wasn't going to anyway. The guy is 36 years old and is injury prone. I mean, what is he? He's good for 65
free
games
agent next
maybe
year if he wants to be.
Yeah,
right? I mean, have to deal with the new contract.
Right. Listen, Kevin Durant is still an amazing player, and especially considering his age. You think Kevin Durant's going to be the best player on a title team next season?
I want to put a pin in the Kevin Durant part because I do want to ask you a little bit more about Kevin Durant. But with Bane, that's the price to get the guy who's not for sale.
Right.
That's going up to somebody's door. It's $1 million home and saying, I'll offer you $2 million. And then you got to turn around and say, honey, I guess we're moving.
Yep.
Like, we can't turn that down. And that's how you get guys. That's Mikal Bridges. It's Desmond Bane. And
usually, though, it's your last piece, right? And like Indy kind of did something similar when they got Pascal Siakam.
Yep, 3 firsts.
Better move.
Yeah.
Obviously, in hindsight. Mikal Bridges, that one is a little bit of a. I mean, now obviously in hindsight, we look back and you say, "Oof, that's a rough one."
I didn't love it at the time, but to your point, New York thought last puzzle piece,
right? And I think that you look at Desmond Bane and you add Bane to what they've got there. That's pretty good. I mean, Suggs and Bane, they complement each other pretty well.
It's a perfect fit.
Bane always to me, like I had him. So I had him number 2 in that draft. I had him ahead of Halliburton. I think that we've maybe talked about this. Like that's the draft that got me to quit doing draft work because of Bane and Halliburton. Bane, his ability to create off the dribble, completely unheralded coming out of college. The guy was essentially a point guard in college. I mean, he's built the way he's built. I think that sticks in the back of everyone's mind, but he can be he is more of a combo guard than he is a 2. You add him to the mix with another guy like Suggs, who is a combo guard, and the truth is their offense in Orlando fell off a cliff when Suggs was out last year.
Mhm.
So Bane gives you a guy who can hold the offense up when Suggs isn't out there. Suggs obviously does a good job. It gets the ball out of Paolo's hands more, which I think is very important for their success. And then you look at a guy like, I mean, Goga to me is perfect with Bane because he can get into that pick and pop. So I think that they did a pretty good job. He's not a championship piece for them, but he's like, they're fighting for home court advantage potentially.
It's a
year.
bet that Paolo is going to make that superstar
Right.
leap, which I'm here for. I love Paolo. Franz might be the guy who makes a superstar leap.
Right.
They've got 2 guys who are capable of it. Suggs has to stay healthy. That's another big bet here. But they've said, you know what? I've always been anti Orlando going and getting the ball dominant point guard. Yeah. They have clearly decided for Paolo and Franz to hit their ceiling, they need to have the ball in their hands. They got to be It's not going to be pretty, and it has not been pretty for 2 years now, but we got to go through this John Taffer bar rescue stress test. We got to do it with them, because if we don't do it, they're never going to hit that. We might be better. We might get a top 4 seed in the East, but we're not going to hit the championship level. And they've always had that eye on the prize in that way. I think with Bane, to your point, he's exactly what he doesn't need the ball in his hands, but when they need him to have the ball in his hands, he can do it. And Suggs, by the way, again, if he could stay healthy, he can also do it. I thought he actually took a pretty big leap as a point guard last year, and then he got hurt.
He was amazing.
But Banchero and Franz are just it's a bet on them. I don't think they're done.
Defensively, they are going to be tough.
Oh my gosh,
really tough.
Yep.
I mean, you think about just the ability to switch at the point of attack now with Bane and Suggs. Man, they're going to be tough.
Super underrated thing.
They need a better offense. They need a better offense, but other than that, they're going to be pretty good.
Let's talk Kevin Durant.
Well, wait. I want to talk about the Memphis side of this.
Oh, let's do it,
because I think Memphis is now in a interesting spot.
Yes,
it's harder to extend Jaren Jackson Jr. because they got a little bit less money for now, but also that Phoenix pick and the KCP contract, very interesting. If I'm looking at what Memphis has sitting right there, right? I think you've got a nice fat contract and you have a pick that Phoenix 2026 pick is a real pick.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's, hey, Phoenix, are you interested in this? Because they don't want to rebuild. Their idea is they're going to reboot. They're going to send Kevin Durant somewhere, get some good players coming back, and be able to compete next season. Now, I think they're insane. They probably need to consider blowing it up, but you use that to your advantage. I mean, who's the GM in Phoenix? I can't remember the guy's name.
It's the Michigan State. The other Michigan
exactly.
State guy.
He doesn't have any idea. Hey, buddy, do you want your pick back next year? What about KCP? This guy's a champion.
What are you targeting there? Are you targeting Durant?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a couple of young guys. Maybe it's Ryan Dunn, Osa Iguodala. I don't know. Maybe you're just looking to fill out your bench.
Maybe it's a 3-teamer.
It's Memphis. Right. It's Memphis, right? Like, who knows? Yeah. But I think that you've got some opportunity there. But also, what if they're deciding this team can't compete in the West?
Right.
Our best player, our star, can't play more than 60 games a season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the time to get out is now. Now, I think Ja would have been an interesting move for Orlando, right? Like, if they would have made I would have been less surprised by a trade for Ja Morant by Orlando than the Bane trade. I think the Bane trade is a good trade.
Right. Well, now if you're another team, you've got to call Memphis and be like, what's up with these guys? And they are signaling out, every reporter is saying this after the Bane trade, this does not mean that Memphis is trading Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. The plan is to build around those guys. You know what that sounds very similar to? When Danny Ainge traded Royce O'Neal and said, this has nothing to do with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. And then what happened? Both Rudy Gobert got sent away for $1 million draft picks. Donovan Mitchell, they got a haul for Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
But that's how you posture if you're a front office, because again, you don't want the going out of business, everything must go sign outside of your door. You want to operate from a position of strength. And so if I'm another GM, I'm saying, if we like Ja, we're calling about Ja. If we like Jaren Jackson Jr., we're calling about him too.
What would it even take to get Jaren? I mean,
I think they'd be looking at the Bane kind of thing. It'd be 3, 4, 5 first-round picks, something like that, depending on the quality of the first.
Oh, unless it's the Lakers, and then it's like Austin Reeves and someone's used Cadillac. and they get Jaren
throw
Jackson.
Vanderbilt in there, and,
Right.
and you got
I mean,
a deal.
I don't know. I've been thinking about these two guys for about 6 months because I actually thought the Ja thing was going to potentially happen this summer. But the Jaren, like I assumed that whatever the next version of the Grizzlies looked like, it was going to have Bane and Jaren Jackson on it, not Ja.
Right.
And so now it's thrown everything up in the air. I think a move, like if they moved away from Jaren Jackson, I mean, you've seen him for years, right? This guy look like a key piece on a title team at this point? I don't know anymore. I thought he was on track to be that guy, but you know, the obviously the fouls are still a huge problem with him. He can't stay on the court.
Right. Rebounding is an issue.
Rebounds a huge problem. And like the NBA now is such a you have to win the possession battle.
Yep.
You have to. Especially Memphis, because they just don't shoot enough threes. And then think about the style of play that they switched to, right?
Yeah, with Edie.
And they are actually going to, I think, go even further into that under Isola.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be more pace to their game. I don't know, like, not to say that you get rid of a great player because of the coach and the style of play, but it does feel like the organization is making a philosophical shift in the way
and
that
a younger coach too, right? This is maybe a situation.
If you were going to
where...
reboot, this is a great time to do it internally, and you would get the maximum haul. I mean, would Utah be interested in Jaren Jackson?
Oh,
probably. Well, I think you've got to think about
Salt Lake City.
Yes, but I don't know if you can bring Ja Morant to Salt Lake City. If you know what I mean,
right?
I'm not sure if that's a fit. If you're thinking that way, but Jaren and Lauri Markkanen is a pretty good start, right? Maybe I don't know what you do, but everything is open now. I mean, all of the stuff that we've heard about how this is going to be a crazy summer, I hear the same thing.
Jaren Jackson
Everyone's
Jr.
available.
Is so. I've had my ear to the ground on Jaren Jackson Jr. for a few months now because this extension is a big deal, and he's got that weird extension where he can remove a year or get a raise for a year, and then extend off of that, and he doesn't have to do it. And they just traded Desmond Bane. And next offseason, he could be the biggest free agent of the class next offseason because if we assume Durant is going to extend, LeBron signs opts in or extends or whatever he does, like suddenly the 2026 big class, Luka Doncic, that James Harden, all those guys can go away because they all are on new contracts, and Jaren Jackson could be sitting there being like, who's going to pay me $50 million a year?
Nobody has the money. That's the thing, though.
Not right now, but maybe next summer they might.
I don't know. I think that the way that cap space is being used now, everyone's flirting with the apron, and it's difficult because as you know, like having a contract on the books is actually a team building move. This is why KCP is pretty important now for what Memphis has going on. Just having that contract slot. I just don't know. I mean, free agency, I was pretty sure was dead. But then Paul George signs in Philly last year, and you say, oh, maybe it's just guys who are in that top 25, top 30. So if you're Jaren, I don't know. You have an interesting decision to make.
Right.
But I think
the ball's in his court, in other words, right? He could
100%.
just say, I'm not going to sign that extension. And then Memphis almost has to trade him.
They have
to. It'd be very interesting to see what they do here. I'm not sure.
If you're Jaren Jackson, would you want to go somewhere else? Like, is there a better position? I guess like realistic, right? Like if you could get to the Lakers and you're Jaren Jackson, you probably would love to do that because that looks like it's going to be a great setup.
If I'm Jaren Jackson, playing with Luka, I would. You want to toe the line here, right? Because you don't want to end up getting traded somewhere you don't want to be. But then again, you don't always have to sign the extension anywhere either. I would be very interested in.
He's not a guy that's going to get traded to the Wizards. That's just not going to happen. Yeah.
No. He would be viewed as like, okay, can we make him the third piece on a title team?
Right.
And then if you're Memphis, then we talk about, hey, 4 or 5 first-round picks, things like that. I could see the Grizzlies going either way. I could see the Grizzlies being like, you know what? We don't have to make a decision now. Maybe it's a trade deadline thing for us, but let's just go into the season with Morant and Jaren Jackson and just figure it out. Or they could say, nobody's for sale, but we'll listen to phone calls and then.
I mean, the Bane trade, I think, has made everyone realize they'll trade anyone.
Latest reporting on Kevin Durant. Prefers to get traded to Houston, San Antonio, or Miami. Sounds like the Suns are still asking for a lot. Teams are just waiting for them to bring their price down. Also starting to sound like the Spurs are not as interested as maybe people want them to be or whatever, or that maybe Durant wants them to be, but it sounds
I
like
was
they're
just
starting to take to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit there. But which one of those spots, or maybe there's another spot in the league that you like for Kevin Durant?
I kind of hope he winds up in Miami just because
There
they
we
have
go.
nothing.
Yeah,
They have nothing.
I know. It'd be
Let's
fun.
just get him to Miami. Maybe they make the playoffs. They're probably still a play-in team. Again, Kevin Durant doesn't move the needle to me as a guy who you're going to build some kind of team around. The Spurs, it never made any sense to go there, like for him to go there. Again, like at some point you have to reckon with who, like what has happened with KD on these teams. And you have to separate that from the player that he is when he's on the court. And you have to say, do you want to invite this into our organization, our locker room? I don't. Not if I'm the Spurs. Like, I'm thinking about the next 10, 15 years, not the next 2. So why would I give up anything for a guy who is, again, 36 years old, in the twilight of his career, injury prone, and frankly, like, he has to touch the ball. It's not like he's going to come in and come off the bench. This is not Chris Paul, at 40 years old, where it's like, okay, hey man, just make sure you throw that ball up there real high for Victor Wembanyama and then get out of the way. That's not who Kevin Durant is. So to me, I think that if you're Miami, you've got nothing to lose as long as it doesn't cost you much.
Right.
I wouldn't give up any real picks. I wouldn't give up Haywood Highsmith even, because frankly, like, you're just kind of taking KD. They have no offers for him. Minnesota doesn't want him. Houston, it would be silly to consolidate your guys, consolidate your young guys on a guy who is old enough that he maybe could have been their dad. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here?
Wrong Suns player.
Absolutely. It's Devin Booker is the guy.
You're waiting for Devin Booker. If
That's
you're Houston.
Yeah. And I just don't get it. Like, what, KD next to Alperen Şengün? You think that like is,
and that's the part that I don't. Everybody wants. Oh, Durant in Houston, such a perfect fit. He'll see that he could be the. Even if you think that, that's not how Kevin Durant or superstars ever behave.
No,
they don't look for situations where they can be the final piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Superstars look for situations where they could be surrounded by pieces they need. And I know that Durant has a relationship with Ime Udoka. Cool.
Sure.
Superstars also don't care about who the coach is for the most part, especially somebody like Durant. And it's like, yeah, he's going to look at
how
the
come
Houston
we don't
roster.
hear Durant
We like
saying,
Alperen Şengün. I don't think Durant, or people like Alperen Şengün.
Sure.
People like, I love Amen Thompson, right?
Right.
Durant isn't going to be like, send me to Houston. I have to play with 21-year-old Amen Thompson. That's not how superstars behave. That's not how they act.
For instance, how come he's not saying, how do I get to Milwaukee?
Right.
How do I get to Milwaukee? There would be a need for him there, right? He could play with Giannis, totally fine, because he would go in and give deference to Giannis, right? He wouldn't be able to go in and blow the team up. Dame's going to be out all next year. They need a guy who can take shots. And if he had to miss 25 games in the regular season, Giannis is a good enough player. He's a big enough star that he can actually shoulder that load. But you don't hear Milwaukee. Now, for me, like, I just don't. What does it mean? Does he want 18 shots a game next season? Guarantee? I'm trying to figure out what it is, right? Like, Houston needs a guy. But KD hasn't been a guy, like the guy, for a while now, right? Like, it's not like they're winning titles in these places he's going. So I just don't know, like, how do you mortgage anything away from your franchise for Kevin Durant?
And that's where the Suns are going to have to figure it out, because they've already called their shot, right? They're trading Kevin Durant. We know it. They don't have any position of leverage here, and yet all the reporting right now is that, hey, we want to get what we traded out for Kevin Durant. We want that in return. It's like, you're not going to get that. It's not like Miami ran into this issue last year. They traded Jimmy Butler for Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Dennis Schroeder, and 1 first-round pick. And Schroeder went out in another deal or whatever. That's not the return you think you're getting for a superstar. And I think if you're Phoenix, you're lucky if you get that.
You got to think about it more like a sign and trade with a guy who's going to leave in free agency, and just be happy if you get anything.
And this is why I'm with you on the Miami thing.
Yeah,
I think Miami has a Jimmy Butler-sized void. They need a star player. They need a number one. They need a guy that generates tickets. They just need a guy.
Sure.
And they don't have a guy. As much as Bam and Tyler Hero, they love them. They need a head of the snake. They need a number one.
I would hate to give up Khalil Ware.
They will not give up Khalil Ware. And that's going to be it. And that's their offer. And it's not an awesome offer, but to your point, Phoenix doesn't get to have awesome offers.
No,
Like
so I'm rooting for him to be in Miami. Number one, it'd be great to see KD get one last run on a team where I think he could be complimented there. I mean, he's not going to play with these guys. He's going to stand and do his own thing. But at least, Tyler Hero has KD that he can throw the ball to here. And
right. And KD and Bam have won a gold medal together. There's a relationship there. Spo coached him with the Team USA. And to your point, also, like, you don't have to ask him to go in and be that leader. He's able to just walk in right away. Spo's the leader of the team. Bam's the captain. Heat culture, blah, blah, blah. And he can just hang out and just get a locker and do his thing.
Get shots up.
Which is all he needs to do. And frankly, it's all Miami needs out of a player. They have
be
all
the
the
first
other
shot
things
maker there
out.
in a very long time.
They have not had a 24-point per game score since LeBron James left in 2014. Kevin Durant doesn't not average 24 points per game. That's all he does, right? Is 25 plus points per game. So I'm with you. That's my favorite spot. We'll see if something else jumps out. All right, last segment here, Dave.
You got fake trades.
We went to the trade machine. Well, we were talking about Memphis there for a second, so I want to stay on that topic. A Jaren Jackson Jr. trade.
How about that?
I have my list here. Okay. Jaren Jackson Jr. goes to Chicago.
Like it already.
Memphis gets Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu, and 3 first-round picks, including the number 12 pick this year.
Call it in. Chicago. It's a great deal for the Bulls.
Really? You think it's not enough? You think Memphis didn't get enough first there? What do you think?
I think it's plenty. Probably because it's the Bulls. It's not like they're going to be good even after they trade for Jaren Jackson. So I think
thinking was
that's a good move for Chicago. They need some talent.
Resign Josh Giddey. You have Kobe White, Giddey, Jaren Jackson Jr. You get off the Patrick Williams.
I worry
contract.
that if they re-sign Giddey, it means they're going to move on from Kobe White, which would be a mistake. Right. I do not want them to sign Giddey. I really am hoping that they don't somehow.
Tough to lose that asset for nothing, though.
It is, but it's tough to lose Alex Caruso for nothing. I agree.
Orlando got an Orlando Magic trade.
Okay.
3-way deal. Orlando gets Malik Monk and Gabe Vincent. Sacramento gets Jonathan Isaac, and the Lakers get Jonas Valanciunas, who is currently on the Kings roster, by the way.
Yeah, right. I'm glad that you reminded me.
Right.
That's interesting. And Jonas only makes what, 10?
Yep. Him and Gabe Vincent basically make 10 million.
Yeah, which is nice because then he can slide into a future trade for the pretty nicely. I don't hate that. That's not bad. Monk and Vincent as your 2 guards off the bench.
Yep. Little offensive pop coming off the bench for Orlando.
It's interesting.
I think the Magic I don't think they're done after the Bane deal. I think they need one more move, and they basically just need to upgrade that Cole Anthony spot. Yeah. And that's exactly what Malik Monk is. Him coming off the bench and then getting into small ball lineups when they just need a little bit more ball handling in certain matchups. I think that would be really useful for them. And then, Jonathan Isaac, I know everybody likes to call him the best defender pound for pound, which is my least favorite thing. Because it's like that's not how defense is played, or basketball. You don't play basketball pound for pound. You just play basketball for 48 minutes. But he seems a little superfluous for them. Like, they have a hard time just getting him on the court because he can't shoot. Where in Sacramento, his defense next to Sabonis would be so important for them.
He's their third center.
Right.
That they slot in sometimes at the 4, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a role on offense, which kills his defense. And I mean, you're right. Yeah, he could start at the 5 or the 4 for Sacramento and actually be useful. Another team I don't hate for Jonathan Isaac is the Warriors, if they could somehow get him.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I've got a Denver Nuggets trade.
They probably needed to be on the Desmond Bane trade, right? They needed to get Bane. And I think if you're Denver right now, you're kicking yourself for not knowing that he was available.
But they could only move like 1 first, I think.
Yeah. They wouldn't be able to match that offer, but that was a move that they needed. Maybe they could get KCP.
I do wonder if there's a Jamal Murray trade.
I thought Orlando would be like sitting there, maybe kicking the tires on Jamal Murray. He would fit what they're doing, quite well.
Toronto could make a little sense for Jamal Murray.
Is that just our Canada bias?
Yes and no. I don't know. Maybe. But him playing off of Barnes makes theoretical sense. I still need to see that Barnes can handle that kind of responsibility. But if that's what they're committed to doing, that's not the trade I have here, though.
Okay, what's the trade?
Toronto gets Michael Porter Jr. I think they could use his spacing. They like guys who are above 6'7". Denver gets RJ Barrett and Ochai Agbaji. So they basically split Porter Jr. into 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deal.
It's a pretty good one. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Barrett gives them a little off the dribble pop that they.
I'm of the opinion that the Nuggets this summer have to trade for an all-star. Like as funny as that line of demarcation is, it is a line that exists. I think that they've got someone that we consider an all-star, whether he's made an all-star game or not.
Are you talking about upgrading the Murray spot or in addition to Murray and Jokic?
It might be in addition to.
Okay.
When Giannis first became available, I was like, Denver, if they're not calling about Giannis, they're not doing their job, right? That's really what they ought to be trying to do is how do you pair him with another top 10 player?
It's my favorite Kevin Durant spot, but it feels like it's impossible for them to swing that.
Well, MPJ would actually do okay in Phoenix. There's a world in which MPJ at the 4 is a positive for them.
And you just hope Phoenix loves Zeke Naji and just thinks that Denver doesn't know what they have on their hands.
Right. It's impossible to get him there, but that's a spot where KD actually does fit. He goes in again. It's kind of like the Giannis thing where I said, if you send him to Milwaukee, he slots into the pecking order in the place where he needs to at this point in his career. It would be a good spot. And I think if Denver could get KD, that's a great move for them. But they need to do something. Like they need someone who can be reliable, in the playoffs. It's not just Jokic. Murray hasn't been. Really what they need is for Murray to get into elite physical condition.
Right. They need Murray to get back to 2023 finals. Yeah. Jamal Murray.
Throw him in the bubble. Put him on a diet. Whatever it takes. Like he's just physically, like him coming into camp 15 pounds overweight,
right?
And then spending all year overweight. Like it's not like he ever played himself into shape. He was heavy going into the playoffs. Like he looked slow. Part of that is he was a little banged up, but I'm sorry, man, but you're not in shape to start the year. So I think they were playing from behind the 8 ball all year with him anyway. So unless he's going to show up in shape, they should be looking to move him.
Jamal Murray for John Morant.
I hate that. I hate that so much. Ja can't play, I don't think, off of Jokic on the elbow.
No, I think you're right. 2 more. Detroit gets Norm Powell from the Clippers. The Clippers get Jaden Ivey and Simone Fontecchio. Clippers get a little bit of a reset.
I don't know, man. Norm Powell is really good. I don't think you can give up Norm Powell if you're the Clippers. You've got to get a really good player back, like a starter.
Yeah,
definitely. Starter and a high-level role player if you're going to move on from Norm Powell. Sorry, it sounds like there's like a helicopter landing right outside of my house. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
It's okay. I'm trying to work the unmute thing.
I'm trying to work the mute, but I'm not sure what's happening. I live at the beach, so it doesn't make any sense that there's
hopefully it's not a tsunami.
Well, no, I'm up on a bluff, so luckily, I'm protected from a tsunami. Unless we're talking like a deep impact situation where it's
and if that happens, then
then
is probably
you would know
soon.
about it.
Yeah, I would. It's true. Last one here. Charlotte and Boston put a deal together. Charlotte gets Drew Holiday. Boston gets Mark Williams, Josh Green, and Josh Okogie. Okogie's contract is fully non-guaranteed, so they can waive that and save $7.7 million. Helps them work that apron that they're trying to get under. So Charlotte gets Drew Holiday, pair him next to LaMelo Ball. Feels like that would be a nice little leadership situation. Boston gets Mark Williams and Josh Green. It's not a great return for Holiday, but Boston's not going to get a great return for Holiday.
I think with Boston, they need like two guys who can be in a rotation, period. Next year, theoretically, a gap year for them. I actually had the idea that they should call up Dallas and see what it would take to get the number 1 pick. Hey,
for
like
Brown.
Jalen Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the contract, like they're kind of in money jail where they
Mhm.
need to get out. Like they
Yeah.
have to get out.
Mhm.
That $500 million number is just too much for a team that's definitely not going to win a title next year. And the new ownership doesn't want that. So Jalen's making what, 60
Yep.
this year? I don't know how, like, it's probably impossible for Dallas to get to the money required to do it. But I would have started there. I would have just said, hey, what if we could get Cooper Flag? And then your reboot is Jason Tatum, whoever is left over with Cooper Flag. I think that would be a great way to have a gap year. Now, I don't think it's realistic that Dallas is going to trade that pick.
Right.
But if ever they were going to, it'd be a player like Jalen Brown.
So I wrote. So I agree with you. I wrote for the Ringer a few weeks ago, like the different doors that the Celtics could go through, whether it's Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, which every
Both
Boston
are out.
fan feels like they could just trade them and get something for return. I'm like, you might have to attach picks to those guys to get
Right.
off those contracts. Again, you put them
Porzingis
going out of business.
especially.
It's even on the expiring, but even then, yes, you could do the. We could probably get something for Derek White plus some cap relief, but do you really want to let go of Derek White? And then even if you do the
29.
Derek White thing, you're probably still going to have to get off of one of Holiday or Porzingis. So you're still sort of you're in the middle,
Yeah.
but I feel like either the middle doesn't sound like a great option there. And the last option is just a Jalen Brown trade. And you could get something for Jalen Brown, potentially keep Holiday and you would keep Holiday and Derek White. Porzingis walks away after a year anyway, so you don't have to deal with him. And then you'd be coming in Jason Tatum's first healthy season back. You'd be coming back with a core of Holiday, White, Tatum, plus whatever you get for Jalen Brown. My favorite fake trade was, what did I have here? It was I think there was other moving parts in it, but it was essentially Zion Williamson and a bunch of picks to Boston for Jalen Brown. And then Boston just waives Zion Williamson because he's got that funky, fully non-guaranteed deal.
Contract.
And they just waive Zion
Williamson. Someone may do that, by the way, with
it's
Zion.
just you get draft picks, cap space, under all the aprons. You're so far away from those aprons, you don't have to worry about it for a while. And then you have all your own picks, a bunch of New Orleans firsts, and you're able to
What about Houston?
For Jalen Brown?
Jalen Brown. See, to me, I look and you could get Reed Shepherd. You could get maybe Jabari Smith. You could get Tari Eason maybe.
I like that.
Right? And now all of a sudden you turn Jalen Brown into 3 or 4 good young players. I mean, Reed Shepherd, we didn't see it last year, but
he's good.
People really believe in this guy.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I look at, and if I'm Houston, Jalen Brown's a guy I'm willing to consolidate my guys for, not Kevin Durant. Jalen Brown's a guy that we're going to sign to a big long-term contract, and he's going to be here for, 7 or 8 years, right? I think that's a guy that makes so much more sense timeline-wise for them. I mean, he's in his prime, which is part of why I think that the Celtics need to consider trading him. That big contract that he's got is obviously it's looming over them, and I think he's worth that. That's why you got to do it now, because you try to do it 3 years from now, maybe he's not.
Right. And it's really hard to build teams around two $60 million guys.
Yep. Yeah. And if Tatum is your guy, and it does seem like Tatum is their guy, Brown's the guy that's got to go. And it seems like the gap year is the time to do it. And if you could possibly get, I think it's unrealistic to expect you could get the number 1 pick out of Dallas, but it's not the craziest thing in the world.
Could you get the number 2 pick from San Antonio?
See, that's what I'm see. Now you're talking. What about Philly?
Right.
They got the number 3 pick.
Right. You'd have to find a new location for
Paul George,
but
I mean,
like you said, Dave, nobody's untouchable, right?
Boston has options.
They do.
I think Boston is poised to control the market if they want to. I mean, if they made Jalen Brown available, he's the best player available on the market, period.
Well, I wonder if
because Giannis is not, by the way, Giannis is not moving.
Right.
I think Giannis is on the Steph Curry train. I think he wants to be Steph Curry, Tim Duncan for the Bucks.
Well, that's where I was going with this, because you had a bunch of teams hoping and wishing that Giannis would be available. That we got reports, teams around the league, front offices around the league, starting to put together their Giannis packages just in case he asks out. Well, now they've just got these Giannis packages just sitting over here, wondering what they're going to do with it. Do you just start taking that and shopping it around, and do you eventually make the Boston
Is
call and
Jalen
say, is Jalen Brown available? No.
is
Is he
Jalen
available
worth what
for
you would give
this?
up for Giannis? Yeah,
No.
that's the question.
For me, no. But for the Giannis is a clear cut number one on a
Yeah.
champion. We saw it. Jalen Brown to me falls somewhere short of a number one. I just don't think he has the ball handling, playmaking thing that you really need from that number one option. But if you're a team that has enough playmaking around Jalen Brown, then I do think it makes sense. But just like sort of in a vacuum, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade what I traded for Giannis for Jalen Brown. But maybe you dial back the package by 20%.
Unless you could guarantee, like, unless you're coming in and you're saying, you know what, if I can get Jalen Brown, that's a piece for us that puts us in championship contention.
And the cool thing about Jalen Brown is he is under contract. It's the same thing, right?
Right.
It's like on one hand, oh my God, he's making $60 million a year. On the other hand, he can't walk away from us. Any team can trade for him, theoretically at least, and say, well, we got him. We got him.
And by the time Shane's making 80,
yeah,
and Luka's making 85 or whatever these guys are going to be making, you're going to be looking, oh, Jalen Brown only making 66.
What a bargain.
That's not too bad.
Right.
For Jalen Brown,
right.
What a steal.
That's a number two option money right there.
Yeah, but I don't hate that Drew trade. I actually like it for Charlotte, right? Like you get an adult in the room.
Yes.
Obviously, like there's the Charles Lee connection because they, work together in Boston. But the issue with Drew being washed goes away because it doesn't matter in Charlotte.
Right.
Right. He probably looks pretty good in Charlotte, and maybe they can then flip him at the deadline.
Right.
I mean, I think it's a good move for Charlotte if they're thinking about how to build a team.
Right. It's the influence that Drew Holiday would have over that
100%.
locker room that they need.
Yeah.
That's what they're trading for.
And
Grant Williams didn't exactly get that done.
Who would have guessed that? I'm unimpressed with what Charlotte's been doing as far as pro personnel scouting. Like it's not been great for them. But Drew would be amazing.
Yeah. There's a fun team dormant somewhere in Charlotte. And that's the annoying part about it is, can we just make them fun? I don't know that they'll ever be good.
It takes discipline. It really, like, this is the thing that people maybe don't understand about basketball is that it is art. It is like the best athletes in the NBA are really visual artists. Like you watch them do stuff and it's beautiful to watch. They learn on the fly. They figure things out, but it requires a lot of discipline. It's sort of like art and photography. You know about the rule of thirds?
Yep.
You understand, like framing, like for those listening, you want to frame things in the third of the frame on the outside third, not in the middle, right? Center compositions for Wes Anderson. But there are plenty of people like Wes Anderson that break these rules, but you have to understand the rules first. It requires discipline. You have to know what you're doing. And the Charlotte Hornets have basically just been the Wild West. Right. The locker room. I mean, all of these videos that you see of LaMelo leaving the practice facility in his Lamborghini and just squealing tires out the gate and running a red light. I know this sounds like old white guy stuff. That stuff actually matters for your team. Like it does matter. Like if you show up and you're a professional every single day, and if you actually care about the people around you, because you're spending 9 months with these guys. And frankly, I actually think LaMelo as a talent is incredible. And you would talk about artistry and creativity. It's amazing. But someone needs to take him and put him into a tighter box because the mistakes are too high and all these other things. Like you earn the ability to be Tyrese Halliburton by protecting the basketball and doing things like that. It's not, the self pass off the backboard into a dunk is amazing. But you flipped 7 passes into the third row on your way to doing that. Like you got to tighten it up. They have the talent, man. It's just like, can you get someone in there that can put them, where they need to be? And we didn't see that last year. And I actually, man, it would be great. Like could they get Tom Thibodeau in there for training camp? Just
to walk around and scream at people.
Tom Thibodeau is actually the NBA's best free agent right now.
Ooh.
And nobody's realized that yet. Atlanta has turned down the Knicks' request to talk to Quinn Snyder. And I would have straight up said, oh, let's make a trade. We would love to trade Quinn Snyder to you. And while I'm talking to Tom Thibodeau on the side to come in and take his place. Because I think Tom Thibodeau, when you talk about getting a team to their floor, like this is the highest their floor can possibly be. That's the guy. So if he could get into Charlotte, they're a play-in team. If he could get into Atlanta, they're a top 6 team. Yeah. He's one of those coaches. They just, again, Charlotte needs discipline. It's too much of a mess.
It might be too late for LaMelo. I hope it's not. It might be. I'm also really worried about Brandon Miller. You need if you kind of failed LaMelo in his first 2 years, you got to make sure you do right by Brandon Miller, and whoever
Would you trade
draft here.
LaMelo?
To who and for what? At this point,
That's
it's
the
almost
thing.
like the Trey Young situation last year and a couple years ago. It's like we could trade him, but it just doesn't feel like we're getting enough value, so we kind of are just stuck with this amazing talent, and we're kind of okay with it.
I'm over saying he's an amazing talent because he doesn't win.
Yeah,
Like he's just at this point in his career has not proven he can win a basketball game.
right.
So he's
But
got.
if you're Charlotte, it's the
latent.
sort of thing where you're just hoping that somebody sees him as an amazing talent and knocks you over. But I don't think it would take the Desmond Bane deal. Like,
no, where would he even fit? That's the thing. Like personality wise, where does he fit? Style of play wise,
so many
like
teams have a point guard.
yeah.
Where I mean, Sacramento, would they just say,
Let's
I
get
know we keep
another
going
guy
back to him, but
Let's just
they
get
don't have
another
a point
guy.
guard.
I don't like. Again, LaMelo. It's just this high turnover.
You got to believe that you
low
can,
efficiency
you
player.
could bring him in and you could say, we're not turning the ball over anymore. We're going to harness all of this talent and skill that you have, and we're gonna move it in the right direction because you was moving in the wrong direction your entire career so far. And I don't know what kind of team would be willing to take that kind of gamble. I've got Heat fans telling me that it should be the Heat, and I'm like, that does not seem like a Miami Heat thing to do. This seems like the opposite.
Does he seem like a Heat
do.
culture guy? I mean,
not at all.
I just see Eric Spoelstra wanting to bench him every single game.
Everything about LaMelo Ball screams Miami. Nothing about him screams Heat.
Right.
Dave DuFour, The Athletic, NBA Daily. Joy talking to you about basketball, sir. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Appreciate it.